right, we're going to start and build. We're going to build a server here with the application that I've been developing. So you want to go in and create your credentials. You should pick a bucket name. I'm going to delete this bucket and then create it. Um, I'm going to delete this PEM key and create a new one here. You can download it if you want to hold on to it. Otherwise, it will. If you're running the application outside of the container, this is where it will store that file. And this is kind of like a recommended place to store that file. So, um, you know, you can take it, download it, and do what you want. Um, However, if it's not running locally, if it's in Docker, then that file is also stored within the container in a volume that's um, if we look. Okay, I don't know if I'm actually going to get into. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so if we go to Docker Compose and look at how this information is shared outside of the container, you'll see that where's it at? Right here. So if you went to cd serve right there, then you'll see that, like, yeah, see, it's also stored right there. So um, let's go back. Okay, so that's the key, and then here's some additional ports you can open up, and if you want to add your own, you can. Right now, these are from anywhere. There's not really a VPN or anything, so you know, there's more work to be done, obviously. So this is a server that's just going to be kind of wide open to the world. All right, so I think that, yep. So we've created our security group, and the next thing is to go ahead and start our instance, and we will go with a C6A extra large. Create the server. It says it's building our R box. If you want to check your spend to date, you can. Part of this is the reason why it doesn't just show up automatically is because every time you do that, it costs a couple cents. So, and then here's information about our server that's getting started. So, you can, and I'm just going to do things I guess the way that I would recommend doing them. You can connect to so I said locally, and I was like Docker early. I don't know. So within Docker, you can actually just get to that EC2 instance. So I'm going to go ahead and paste, and then paste again. And then here in a second, we will be running or connecting to our EC2 instance. All right, so now we can follow the installation, and you see here that there's a lot kind of going on. So this application sends a script to AWS and and starts that script on the start of the server. So it's like it's not an AMI, it's not an image like a setup pre-configured R image. It's if you look in the source folder and then go to shell and user data, there's this shell script that runs, and you can take it and configure it. I'm actually going to have it configurable within the application itself, so that you can make changes and update them as needed. Um, so while this runs, let's see where we're at. I think it's installing Miniconda. Yeah. So it's going to install Docker, Shiny Server, our Studio Server, Nginx, Glances for monitoring, a whole bunch of binaries or Linux libraries or whatever. Install R, base R, all that. And then it'll connect, it'll set up like Miniconda, and so you can use Reticulate and Box and all that. And it'll just kind of work out of the box. And then I also like create a, I think that this says it's untested. So yeah. Um, but once this is done, then there's kind of like we'll have to check things out. But anyway, so I'm actually going to not follow the entire installation. Let's just see if we can get to RStudio server yet. It might not be quite ready. Yeah. So there's RStudio server running on your instance. Let's see if Shiny server's up and running yet. It will be eventually, but looks like, oh, yep. Let's see. So it's been a minute since I've actually like validated everything that I'm doing here. So I might need to, let's see. Oh, well, Shiny and Markdown are being installed. And I think yep, RStudio server, then Shiny and our Markdown, and then this. So that's actually what it looks like is happening over here. So it's just the fact that um, the Shiny server hasn't started quite yet because it's got to finish installing these packages. So yeah, and then install Miniconda, and then so whenever I said it was installing Miniconda, I was lying. um, but yeah, let's give this a second so that we can see our Shiny server. Um, however, before we do that, I can just go ahead and show some other things. You know, if you want to actually log into RStudio server, you should create a user. So we'll do sudo add user fdrnn, and then I'll create a password and another password. Okay, cool. You can just hit return here. And then I want to be able to have root privileges and Docker privileges. So let me see. Yeah, Docker's already been installed. So sudo usermod he sudo he docker, and then my username. Um, and let's see where we are at. So this is still running, but at this point I should be able to log into RStudio now with my new username and password. And there we go. I'm not sure if I have to restart the instance to have root or Docker privileges. We're going to find out here in a second. I can't remember. But I say it because I feel like it is a thing. Let's see how much. Yeah, I don't know. It's just everything's starting up for the first time, I suppose. Um, but I'm actually going to show you something here pretty cool. So this is a pretty small box. It's got 8 gigs and 4 cores, or 4 threads. After this stuff is actually installed, for people who aren't familiar with how cool EC2 can be, I will show you, because we'll power on a supercomputer here in a second. So let's test out and see if we need to reboot for some of these privileges. So docker container ls, Docker's great. Okay, sudo su dash, and then okay. So I'm gonna have to restart before I have sudo, but and this is still running, so we don't have RStudio server. Yeah, we don't have Shiny server quite yet. So momentarily we will. And I'm not convinced that I have glances up and running as it should be quite yet. But yeah, so I'm gonna have this resolved pretty soon. I think it just has to do with. I mean, I'm honestly not even very sure. So it's just something that I've done wrong to actually be able to like monitor that box without logging in. But so that's going. But actually, what we can do in the meantime is, so if you want to actually hook up your application to um, like GitLab or whatever, you should create a key file to communicate. And so we'll just run that command, return, return, return. And then we go back and we get this thing here, paste. Cool. So now I can take this to GitLab, copy GitLab. This repository is public, so you would be able to clone it with HTTPS, but I'm going to use SSH because I actually want to be able to like edit the application and push back. Man, my personal internet is just abysmal. All right, so I've copied my key file, and then I just need to hop in here, go into preferences. It's doing reticulate now. Yeah, so SSH keys. Paste. Cool. And add key. All right, so now that that is done, I can go back to the code for this application, clone it using SSH. Okay, so that's all done. I set up Z shell as well on this. Let's do that. Let's see if this actually works. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to worry about Z shell at the moment. Anyways, so let's go ahead and clone this. Here we go. Boop. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so git clone, and we've added our SSH key, so that's going to work. And now we well this well yeah, now that looks right, Git clone. Cannot read duh. Okay. Whoops. Well, right. Okay. So I shouldn't be doing that in the root, right? Because this is like Docker root. This is like an actual user. Blah, of course. Okay. So we created this SSH or that public key for this user. So, yes. Okay. Great. So now that's working. And so this is running on that external instance. I'm going to do one thing here real quick. and it's code that is not quite ready for the application itself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this server an elastic IP address and set up SSH real quick. So the way that I would do that is by currently I have to go to here we go. I'm just going to do if false. So this is a hack at the moment. Okay, should work. Here we go. And then I'm going to go through this slowly because I'm not even convinced that it runs all the way through without, yeah, EC2 elastic IP reset. Okay, so let's actually do it. All right, so you see we have an IP address here. If I turn this IP address off, I can actually reboot the instance now. But let's see, so we've got 31428. So I'm going to hit stop. We're going to watch this instance start or stop. Should actually, did I actually hit stop? Stopping. There it goes. Okay, so we'll let that go for just a second. Okay. And then let's actually let's do something ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. So that server that we started was pretty small, but let's like start the same thing up, but like obnoxiously massive. Let's see if I could do that. We're not going to create it, we're going to modify it. So let's do stopped. Okay, so let's do a C6A. This is absolutely just complete ridiculous overkill. Let's do 24. And we'll hit start. And the IP address is not there. And if we look, you're going to notice 18, 220, 232, right? So that's different than what we had. And if I go back to this old IP address here, oh, well, that one wasn't going to work anyways, right? That one here. All right, so let's go back, and it's like I don't know where the hell things are. So, so what we're going to do is go back to our RStudio server here, log in. And what you'll notice is that like once we actually get in here, the size of the server will be different than what we had originally been working on, but everything else is the same. Like it's the same project and all that, right? It's like being able to clone what you've done, but then put it on a bigger server. And so like here, if we go to htop, right? So now we've got 185 gigs of RAM, and well, this says like 95 threads, but like what's ridiculous is the fact that we only picked like we picked a smaller server, right? So you could really make a you can get like HPC work done with this thing. Um, I think that that was probably a couple. Um, what do we have? We have a C6ID 32. So if we are curious about how much that costs per hour with on-demand pricing, um, it's not something I'm willing to pay for more than a couple minutes. But what's kind of nice is you could set up your project, or like set up what you need to do to like do your math, and then shut it down, right? So that's why it's so cool. Um, Here we go. So on-demand pricing, man. If only my internet was as fast as what I get on AWS, but okay. Why? It's like I can't find right. God, my internet is so slow. I really don't understand. Okay, I want to see on-demand pricing as I'm paying for this thing. Anyways, so let's do this. Let's go into the R app. Let's do Docker compose. I'm going to grab a password real quick, so I'm going to hide my display. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to log. Actually, I don't think that I need to even log in for this. So I'm just going to do a Docker compose pull. Yep. So now we're starting the application on this AWS server. And real quick, I'm going to go back and update the IP address here to be something that isn't going to change. So if I hit return, 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 blah, 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 I'm like manually going through and doing this, but then I'll actually set up the UI to get this done soon. So we get our instances here, and because, yep, and so here's the running instance. And then what we need to do is see, do we have any elastic IPs? And we do. So it's going to just like drop all of them because I'm being lazy at the moment. We're going to get a new elastic IP. We're going to see that we have it here. Here's the new IP. This next is going to associate this IP with the current instance. So if you see 31470 and then, oops, I lost my 9000. Yeah, so there's the application starting up. Okay, so I just want to show you how this is going to change here in a second. All right. So 18, 220, 232, 237. Right, so let's check that out. See, we're here, and yay, you've just created your infrastructure. Okay, so next we associate the IP address, and whenever I refresh this, you'll see it's got a new IP address. This is not going to change whenever you stop your server. So I'm actually going to stop this one because that is a C6A 24x large. Let's just see C6A 24x large cost. Not knowing the price of this thing and running it is making me nervous. $3.67 an hour. Oh, that's not too bad. So, right, so I may be paid like, I don't know, 50 cents or 75 cents just now to run that, or much less actually. But regardless, I'm gonna go back to a smaller one. So server is shutting down, but whenever I restart the server, the IP address is going to change, and that's important to throw a domain name behind it. So if we're going to do HTTPS, every time we stop the server and start the server, if the IP address changes, then you have to update your hosted zone in Route 53. So this is going to go ahead, run through, update, and associate my domain with that particular IP address. And then if we look over here, we have this IP and it's associated with this instance. So stopped. Let's go back to something a little bit more tangible for a demonstration. Let's do just a 2x large. We'll modify, and then we'll start. So the instance is starting back up, but you notice that even whenever it was stopped, the IP address was there, and as we're starting it, that IP address is there. And so once this actually gets up and running, which it should shortly, I'm going to log back into the server. Start, close. And I'm going to modify this and this. Cool. All right. Okay, cool. All right, so oh my God. Notice the server is yet again somewhat different. So we've got 8 threads, 4 cores, 16 gigs. That's like your normal laptop, right? And I'm going to run this command. I'm still not a sudo user or sudoer or whatever the heck. So I will figure that out. I'm just going to run as root in the container. I'm going to stop that and paste. Yes. And actually, I'm just going to throw. Okay, let's look at the Nginx configuration. Notice over here. We are listening on 80, and then it passes you to user share Nginx HTML, right? So if I did hat user share Nginx HTML index HTML, right? So here's like your you've created our infrastructure, right? But now we're going to run. Yikes! That's not what I wanted. Our other command that we just made in order to set up HTTPS. Now, you have to already have a domain set up with Route 53, but it won't be the case for too long. I will have this more streamlined. But here we go. Indexer. God, I keep forgetting. That is, what the heck? Okay. Yeah, so we're going to do this as root on the server. Okay. And we'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. Requesting a certificate. Deployed certificate. And now, ndexr.com is right. You got a secure connection. You're behind HTTPS, and Shiny server should be up and running. Right. Yep. I will have Shiny server also behind HTTPS, but I have to pre-configure that Nginx configuration in order for this to work once you've actually set up your HTTPS connection. But you can then like go to your domain, or I can go to indexer.com 8787, and then if I start and stop, then that server's not going to go anywhere. But now that that is up, right? Let me show you one other thing here. So all right. So I'm currently running that app on my local computer, but let's get it up and running on AWS, right? That would be kind of cool. So I'm going to clear this out. Docker container ls. Did I start it? Nope. Docker compose pool. Is it all done? Yep. Docker compose up -d. All right. So now the app is starting. We should be able to go to IP address 9000, or in this case, because I set up HTTPS, set it up with the domain, I could go to my domain 9000 as well. It's just not quite done, because as you add ports, you have to add them to that configuration file. But it's going to start up the app, and we don't really have anything running yet. But I'm going to turn off my screen real quick. I'm going to grab some AWS keys and fill them out. So once I have updated the I have to copy paste some keys. So real quick, .r environ do. All right, so I'm copying my AWS access key, popping it in there. Now I need to copy the secret and pop it in there. Okay. All right, and now I'm in US East 2, update, and refresh. Oops, what in the world happened? Docker, where's this at? And I might have used bad keys. That's probably, I didn't say it's perfect. Let me see what's going on here. Docker compose. Man, my computer just blows. My computer and my internet connection is, it's in a sad state. Like, yeah, it's painful. um, I'm just going to find out what the error was real quick, but my bet is that it's all due to Docker compose logs. Yeah, so not able to validate the credentials. So I'll make sure that I put a message instead of it actually killing the app. So I'm going to grab a different set of keys real quick. Because I just grabbed them from the wrong place. All right. I'm opening up a .r environment file that I know has some good keys in it. But because my computer's so fucking slow, it's like, I'll just put the screen on here for a second. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm gonna restart the application, which is just, I just have to go back to the same URL. Not a big deal. But of course, R takes like, okay, all right. Now I can do this. Okay, so I'm gonna paste my new access key that works, my other secret that works, hit paste, and then close that, show my screen, update, refresh. So now I'm managing the server that is actually running this application. So if I wanted to turn ndexr.com off, then I would just hit stop here. So that is probably, let me see if Glances isn't working, but I think I'm just going to see if I can show you what that looks like real quick, because Glances is pretty cool. So I'm going to go back to being root and sudo apt install Glances. I think that I just need to install this that way instead of doing it manually, like, or yeah, I think that I just need to fix how this is installed, because I don't have to use the manual installation like I think it's written in the script. Yeah, but once this gets done, then you can actually see kind of everything that's going on this server. So Glances, I think it's just Glances-W. Yeah, so 61208. Okay. So ndexr.com 61208. Let's see if it's actually up. Ooh, there it goes. Does it 61209? Well, that's actually coming up though, so that's promising. Oops. I think I just need to learn to be patient. Yeah, I need to be patient. Most likely. Although it's weird because I wouldn't expect this to be just a white screen. However, it could be, but see, I want to say 61209 too, just because of the fact that like I know that it has, ooh, getting messages. I don't know. So yeah, I'll figure that out. That's stupid. Um, but regardless, I mean, we kind of got up and running super quickly. We put a Shiny application on the web. Um, and so, it's just a few steps from doing that and, you know, getting people and users to actually using your applications. There's a whole lot more that I want to do as far as making this process simpler and quicker and, creating uh, creating examples of like well-written, load-balanced Plumber APIs and Shiny apps. Show how to scale it, set it up so that we could, you can create kind of like your main server, but then distribute traffic to other servers, turn on and off servers as needed, um, and like also add some user management interface through all of this. So this is kind of like the this is just the beginning. I just have so many ideas and things that I want to do, but it's just a matter of actually um, programming it. So it's it's coming along, and there's still some things to figure out, but like it's uh, it's good stuff, right? I think that, huh, yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential for this. So, anyways, I have this running, but then I'm just gonna blow it up, and now I can't even get to this server because it is no longer alive. So I'm not paying for anything now. The server is shutting down, and and it's like it never existed. So yeah, I hope that this was interesting.